Hey guys, it's Rachel. In this tutorial, I want to teach you how to color water splashing or spilling using the Color Therapy app. So for this lesson, I'm going to be using grayscale tones because it's easier to focus on the reflections this way. However, if you want to see how I color a glass of red wine, check out my other tutorials. Find this image under glass. All right, so to start off, I'm going to be using the airbrush tool. So I'm going to set the size and opacity to 30. Okay, so set coloring inside the lines mode to on, and you're just gonna shade the inside of the glass. So I'm doing just around the edges and along the stem edges, and then just do another layer and go around the rim as well. And now I wanna trace the inside of the splash too. Just going up here, just around the edges of that little drip in the splash that's already there. Now raise the size to 75. Now I want to shade the inside of the glass just lightly. I'm mostly going to focus on that left side. Since I don't really want this splash part here, I'm just going to turn coloring inside the lines mode to off. I'm just kind of making it darker. Just doing quick little strokes upward. Now let's continue to refine. So let's lower the size now to 10. So I'm going to be drawing a line kind of like going across like this and just attaching to the splash right here and just kind of refining that. So I'm making another line around it, just making it darker. Coloring inside the lines mode on, and I'm just going to trace around the splash again. And I'm just adding little lines just going with the splash that's already there, continuing to just darken the edges of the glass. Now let's refine the glass a little bit more. So let's set the opacity at 50 and the size at 15. So I really just want to add my darkest shadows now. So I'm doing at the very base of the glass and then on the edges a little bit, just very softly bringing them up and around the rim. So now let's use the smear tool to blend. So I'm using the intensity at 100 and size at 1, and I'm just kind of blending, and I need to turn coloring inside the lines mode to off if I'm doing it inside the water part that I drew, and just kind of making it really soft and flowy. You can turn coloring inside the lines mode to on if you are blending near those lines you want to keep. So I'm just applying this to the whole glass and the rims. Now let's focus on drawing our own little splash area right here. All right, so I'm gonna have the size at 1 and opacity at 50 with coloring inside the lines mode set to off. Now I'm gonna draw my little splash coming out of the glass. You can draw whatever shape you want. I'm gonna have it just come out here and just draw some little interesting shapes coming out. And then maybe some little bubbles and things, some drips. And then now let's turn coloring inside the lines mode to on, and I will be just tracing the inside of those bubbles and the little splashes that are already there for me. Why not? You can trace whichever ones you want. And if you're working on an image where they're not there, then you just add your own. Okay, let's shade that little splash now. So let's raise the size to 75. And making sure coloring inside the lines mode is set to off, and just add a little dark areas inside of it. And then lower the size down to 10 and add some more darker areas. It's kind of doing little streaks and bringing it up and around. And then we'll use the smear tool. So the intensity at 100 and size at 20, and just spring that water through and around and blending it nice and smoothly, just very fluidly. Then you want to lower the size down to 10. Continue to just blend and smear so it looks really nice. You can also lower your stroke opacity so that you can see how it's looking. You also want to blend those edges, so the lines, just make those really nice and fluid. Now let's add a little bit of our highlights back in with white. So we'll do opacity 100 and size at 14. Now let's just do the same thing. We're just going to add in a little bit of highlights here. Just if there's areas that are too dark, just start to add in some of the white. Now a splash isn't going to be completely outlined in a dark color, so some of the areas that are too dark, just add some white and just erase the edges a little bit just to make it look more realistic. Now let's go back to black, continue to just add layers and refine. So let's do size 1, opacity 35. So with black, I'm just going to refine areas as I need. So I'm just adding a few little details in the water splash. You can go back again and use the smear tool as you see fit. Let's go back to the glass and refine a little more with white. So I'm going to do size 1, opacity 100, and I'm focusing on the rim of the glass. So with coloring inside the lines mode set to on, I'm going to just trace the rim of the glass. I'm just going to do it on the left and the right side. I'm also going to add these nice highlights that are already there for us, so just on the glass. And then with coloring inside the lines mode set to off, I'm going to add my own bright highlights. I'm just coming down on the edge. And I'll also bring some of those white highlights into the water, just adding more details and into those little bubbles. So those little bubbles will just have like a little white highlight just around it. So the more details you can add, the better. And always just go back and forth using the smear tool as needed. And then just for fun, you can add some little bubbles with a splatter tool, and you can do size 50 and opacity 100. And with white, you can just add in little dots and bubbles here and there. You can also try to use the fairy dust tool, so size 100, opacity at 30. Just add a few little dots and little bits of glitter. You can apply these skills to a colorful image as well, such as a river or lake with splashing water or even a puddle. If you'd like to see more tutorials like this, don't forget to subscribe to the Color Therapy YouTube channel so you don't miss any new tutorial videos. Thanks for watching our tutorial. You can get the Color Therapy app for free on the App Store.